Hi, everybody. John Ann's again with Ashtonwood House Concerts. We are getting ready. We are only a couple of weeks away from our summer Ashtonwood, and summer means that instead of being in the living room, we are going to be on the deck outside, hopefully with beautiful and comfortable weather. And we are going to have the wonderful Kimaya Diggs with us, local talent and South Hadley hero. And we can't wait to have her. And so let's bring her in and let's have a little chat.
Hello, hello.
Kimaya, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. So just first to be said, we are thrilled that you are coming to Ashtonwood, our house, and our little concert series. And this has been a long time coming. I
Yeah.
mean, you and I have been trying to work together, it seems, for a couple of years, and between touring schedules and other things, it just hasn't worked out. And it wasn't always about this event. It was, showcase at one point and something else and
Hmm.
something else. But we're so thrilled this worked out. And
Yeah,
yeah. So
me too.
so anyway, for those people who don't know you, although it's interesting, other concerts when we're often bringing people in from out of town, um,
Hmm.
I expect that not that many people know who the artist is. In this case, more people may know who the artist is because one, the artist is you, and you are local and
Hmm.
have a following. But for those that don't, those who obviously have been living their lives under a rock, um, tell us a little bit about you. You know where you're from, how you got into music, and we'll just start there and we'll see where we go.
Awesome. Well, I actually grew up there in South Hadley, and
Right?
I've been in the Valley for most of my life. I lived in Pennsylvania for a while after college. But I am a singer-songwriter. I would describe my music as sort of equal parts folk, soul, and indie rock. Very heavily jazz influenced too, I would say. I've been making music in the Valley for just about 10 years now, and I'm really excited to play at Ashtonwood in August because it will be sort of like I have the month off from performing right now,
Oh,
and it will
great.
be my first sort of step back in before the album release in this fall.
Okay, so you've hit on the album early. So let's go there. You've got um is this your third album? Is that the way I'm reading
Mhm.
this correctly? Um so is this already recorded?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Um are are physical CDs out yet?
The physical CDs exist in my basement,
Okay.
but I'm not selling them yet.
Understood.
Yeah.
Um does does the CD have a name?
Yes, it's called Green.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
um, tell us a little bit about the album. What it certainly appears, and again, not to put words in your mouth, but from a lay person who's getting to know your music a little bit, it appears, especially Quincy, your second album, very much brought on by, inspired by life events. Um, what what's Green about, and what's the impetus behind it?
Yeah, I would say there are sort of two main threads of Green. The first one is just this big question about what makes a place home. Is it the people or the land? I grew up in Western Mass. It's also not a very diverse area, so I didn't see myself reflected very frequently.
Hmm.
But I also know the land and the landscape and the native plants and the ways that the seasons turn. So that was like the first question that I was sort of exploring with the album. And then the second half of it is sort of an idea, like a question of sort of personal goodness. Like,
Hmm.
how can you be a good person in the world? How can you live according to your values? Um, and also accept that sometimes people are going to misunderstand you or that you will cause harm or that, bad things will happen to you, even if you try your best to be a good person. And so it's this sort of question of like, how many tries does someone's spirit need to like feel confident that they're living in a way that they could be proud of?
And are those things reflected in individual songs with by both their lyrics and title, or was that just sort of the background of the whole album?
I'd actually say kind of both. When I was coming up with the idea for the album, I had a bunch of songs that could have gone on it or could have, I just was considering a ton of songs. And the way that I picked what the songs would be is I actually sort of put these questions on like a three-dimensional axis in my mind. And so it's like I have this idea that like a song can be more about one thing, like more about goodness, so it's over here. And then there's a song that's more about home, so it's placed over here. And then there's a song that is about both, but a little more about home, so it's placed here. And the songs sort of have this like three-dimensional relationship to one another. Um, I got kind of obsessed with this idea while I was putting it together. But yeah, so I would say the questions, are present even on a simmering level throughout all
Right.
the songs.
And is everything on the album original work? And was everything on Quincy original?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I so then let me ask you this also. You sort of you mentioned three or four sort of genre identifiers for your music. Um, and are those things, is it really an amalgam, or are different songs different styles? Um, or is it just all, you are all of these things all the time?
Yeah, I would say it's more the second. I think certain songs you might put more in one camp than another. But like for example, the single I just put out called I Know That I'm Perfect, I put like the choruses are very indie rock, the verses are very sort of jazz pop. Um, and I would not say I'm doing that intentionally. I like to be as intuitive as possible with my influences. So just consume a lot, not interrogate too hard, like, why do I like this versus this? Just like ingest a ton of information and music, and then trust that if it resonated with me, I will be able to make something with it.
Wow, great. So again, we jumped ahead of the album, but tell us a little bit about what were your early musical influences? I don't was it in South Hadley schools? Was it in the home?
Yeah.
Where did you get the bug?
Yeah, well, so I grew up in South Hadley. I ended up being homeschooled actually till I went to PVPA. So I didn't end up in the South Hadley schools
All right,
besides.
shout out to PVPA. Excellent.
Yes, yeah, I had a brief stint as South Hadley High School's show choir piano player, which was super fun. Um, but I grew up with a ton of music in my house. My parents were dancers,
Oh wow.
and my mom also did a lot of community theater. My dad played jazz flute. So just music and movement were so important to our family. And being homeschooled, like we had a lot of time to do like playing stringed instruments and doing community theater stuff together, stuff like that. But I grew up listening to lots of like 70s soul, lots of like the divas, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, but then also like Joan Baez and Joni Mitchell and a lot of classical music as well. So it was a pretty eclectic bag. I would say like contemporary pop of the time and sort of like classic rock were really not on my radar at all till I was like in high school.
Got it.
So I've been catching up.
Yeah. So so and then the other thing you mentioned, which was funny, was, or not funny but interesting, is that in addition to these sort of indie pop singer songwriter influences, you also have this jazz side to you, which
Hmm.
again obviously influences the other things, but you also occasionally put yourself in a jazz environment with
Yeah.
by ensemble.
Hmm.
What is there? Why do you do that? Because obviously when you do that, you're also generally doing more covers or whatever. But clearly, when you put yourself in that ensemble, you're going to do a jazz gig versus just having a jazz tune in one of your other gigs, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I grew up loving jazz and um I find it's a great place to be playful and expressive melodically. I like to play around with like the tension between the melody and the text. It's like a playground environment, I feel. But the songs, like the canon songs of the Great American Songbook, already exist. The words are already what they are. There's interpretation to be done, but it feels like going to an existing like park and like leaping around and playing around creatively in that space. And when I'm doing my own music, it feels like I have completely built the path from scratch, and every part of the path means something to me.
Right.
So it feels like a very different performance experience. And I also think of my own performance as, I think theatrical is sort of the wrong word, but it kind of gets at what I mean, which is that when I'm doing my own music, I want the performance to feel like one piece from beginning to end, like going to see a play,
Yeah.
as opposed to just seeing a bunch of songs in a row. Like I want people to leave with an overall impression. And when I'm doing jazz, I feel that I can sort of flip between moods a little more nimbly without having to think about it as much, because it's like this song is a world that someone else created and we're just going to inhabit it together for a second and then we're going to do another one. So it feels a little bit of like a different performance mode.
So then I think the last creation question
Mhm.
is um, do you write lyrics or do you write music first? And it doesn't. The answer doesn't really matter. I'm sort of interested in your process, but people should also know that you are not a you don't happen to write lyrics. You know, in your other life, you are a writer, you are a poet, you are a which almost makes writing lyrics unfair, Kimaya. I mean, let's face it, most people struggle to put lyrics to music, and you seem to be a pro on this. But so how do you, given that you obviously can do both well, is that again, does this become a seamless process, or is there a, some what comes first?
Typically, actually, the music comes first. And now that you have the jazz question in my mind, I'm realizing I think that's a bit more of like a jazz approach. I think like the traditional singer-songwriter approach is lyrics first and then setting them to music. But a lot of like the jazz standards didn't have lyrics when they were written. They were written for the tune, and that tune was intended to convey something quite specific. And then somebody would write some words to come through it, and like I don't think the jazz canon is known for like deeply moving lyrics in general. It's often you could tell somebody just wrote this super fast and was like, now we have lyrics.
Right.
And so I try to take a little bit of a jazz approach in that, like, I want the melody to feel right. I feel like there are notes that sort of call out to me, and I'm like, okay, this is the movement. And then I'm like, what? It's almost like this is a crazy example to say. You know the videos of where people like are showing their husky dogs talking? They'll be like, hello, and the dog will be like, woohoo. I think of that, my melody is like husky singing. Like I make a melody and I'm like, what does da 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 sound like in words? And I sort of reverse engineer myself into the lyrics. And once I have sort of like the chorus, then I'll start building out the story in the verses.
Wow. Um, uh, yeah, this is amazing. I think I speak for everybody when I say we can't wait to see this literally on stage,
I'm really
and hear this come out. So August 8th, Saturday, 6:30 at the house, um, weather permitting. I mean, the show's rain or shine, but weather permitting, you're on the deck to an
awesome.
outdoor. It's not quite Tanglewood; it's a little smaller than that. But so what should we expect? Who's with you? What's the ensemble? And any uh, any early teases about what we may hear?
Yeah. So it's going to be me and my spouse, Jacob. He and I co-produce most of my music, which is really fun. And he wrote True Eyes on Quincy,
Okay.
which is a really fun way to collaborate. We're going to be doing some new stuff from the new album. It's going to be like my first or second time playing
Wonderful.
some of the new songs. I was like, I hope it's a friendly
This
audience.
would be
They
this would
can
be a
bear
great
with me.
audience to put it all out there and test whatever you want. This would be great.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I'm excited. So we'll be doing some stuff from the new record, and doing some stuff from Quincy. Every now
Wonderful.
and then when we play as a duo, we pull out some stuff from my first album, Breastfed. TBD if we're gonna do that, but I
Okay.
think it could be a fun opportunity.
Nice. And Jacob plays.
For that show, I'm pretty sure he's gonna play guitar as well, but he typically plays bass with me.
That's what I thought. Now, does he play bass guitar or is it stand up?
Bass guitar.
Okay. Great. Um, well, that is awesome. Um, we're so looking forward to this, and we look forward to having you and Jacob here at the house again, August 8th, Saturday, 6:30 from the deck. And for those not there in person, streamed live on Facebook, and we actually have we hear a rumor, and this will be South Hadley will be thrilled about this, that South Hadley TV actually wants to um, basically capture the stream and play it on Channel 15. So
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, we're breaking new ground with this concert, so we really look forward to it, Kimaya. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you soon. Thank you.